Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 50% Facts Friday episode where we answer questions from y'all. If you want to get involved, goodcompany.discord.com. If you don't have Discord, download it. It's one of the most beautiful apps on the planet. Very versatile. It's basically like a forum and a chat group all in one. If you join Good Company Discord, you get early exclusives on all items, all drops, all collections. You get a like-minded community, and you also get some very secret discounts. So if you want to get involved, goodcompany.discord.com. New episodes Wednesday and Friday, and here we are. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. So this slightly morbid question comes from Keith Honeycutt, a frequent questioner. What would you like your friends and family to think or say about you once you're dead and gone? Or in other words, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, like what's your legacy?
Yeah.
I've had very morbid thoughts in my short life here, but
really?
Yeah, but I've never really thought about what people think necessarily.
Just how you feel about looking back?
Yeah, or like who would care, or like how long
Yeah.
it would last, because they even say that, like I think there's data on it, like 6 months after you die,
most people have forgotten.
Yeah, 90% of people that you interact with
couldn't
forget.
recall your face or your voice.
Or whatever. Especially with the internet age, it's obviously just expanded because you touch slightly more people. But, so I don't really like think about it like that. I mean, and then you can dive into religion and stuff. Like, does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
I do try to the old thing you learn in like kindergarten, like leave the place better than when you came.
Yeah.
And that's, something I got yelled at as a kid when you go to the park or you go camping or whatever, right? So if there's extra trash, you pick it up. Like, even if it's something little like that. So I do try to kind of live and lead like that with good impressions. But beyond that, I don't really know. I mean, no, everyone wants to, like, everyone's answer should be the same, right? Like, hopefully, even if you're a piece of shit, people aren't pieces of shit on purpose.
That's just who they are.
Right? That's like 1% of the world is actually a piece of shit because... But even those people that go out of their way to be a piece of shit, they probably think it's funny, or they probably think it's making them money, or right, like evil,
or they think that they're entitled to.
Maybe, but then but then like that's entitlement, not negative. Like no one ever like, and that's as you start to look at what's happening in the world today with war and whatever, like evil's purely based on perspective.
Yeah,
the amount of actual evil in the world, I think is so low. And that's why Avengers was so great, right? Like Thanos is one of the best evil guys of all time because he's not evil.
Because he's sympathetic.
And you understand why he justifies in his brain that he thinks the world's too fucked, and so he needs to delete 50%. Like it's just his mission. He doesn't think that, he just thinks that's the way to actually cause peace. And that's kind of how this whole world works. There's very few people, I think, that go out of the way, wake up in the morning, say, I'm going to go ruin every person's day in my path.
Some people, that's just, like I said, just who they are. I just actually finished a book on the MCU called MCU, and that one of the facets of Thanos is that he's like sort of relatable and
he's
sort
neutral.
of like he's not doing it because he's evil.
Right.
It like you said, it's that he's got this other view, other agenda.
Yeah, I don't know if it's different cultures you're raised in, but when you're raised in like America, everything's so good guy versus bad guy, right? Everything's so superhero based. It's Superman's clearly good. He's all good.
Yeah.
And then he's fighting this bad guy who wants to ruin the world. Obviously, other cultures have different histories, traditions, myths, and legends. And you dig into some of the older ones, the Romans and the Greeks. It's similar in some of their myths, but life just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It really isn't black and white. And these evil people or bad people or jerks even, or even just a dickhead, let alone, even like murderers in the world. Like, there's something in their head that's justified. They probably don't look in the mirror and say, I am evil. Mm-hmm. They say, oh, I need to do this because whatever. And that isn't right, but that doesn't necessarily... Yeah, it's all perspective based. So I think every person you ask this question will be like, well, I hope people think like me.
Right.
No one wakes up and say, I don't want to be liked. I don't want to be loved. I don't want to be admired. I don't want to be honored. I don't want to be respected. Everyone wants the same shit.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about this before more than once, but my best friend died in 2008 when we were in our 40s, and his like memorial service and funeral and stuff were kind of like a huge testament to who he was as a person. And like so many people talked about the difference that he made, things he said, things he did, ways he interacted with them, you know, how it affected their lives. And, you know, very much at that time I'm thinking, well, what have I done like that? Like I can't really point to a whole lot of circumstances like that. And sometimes when you do something like that for someone, they might not actually continue to be in your life. So that's another, you know, that's the thing. Like it's sometimes even hard to remember you've done those things. And it was all very immediate for him and for those people. And like I said, I'm not going to be buried whole in a casket, but like, who would your pallbearers be? Like, you know, you look around and, you know, your friends are somewhat your legacy, you know, in a way, the part of you that they carry along with them. Yeah.
And some of it's just, to me, it's just like, it's not a scoreboard either, because you can't measure these things.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's hard to measure. I mean, you want people to think that they liked you and that you were a good person and that you did good things.
But like the older you get, I've been to way too many funerals in my life. I've been to too many even just this goddamn year. Like the older you get, the smaller the funerals tend to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of their peers or whatever have also passed.
Yeah.
So, you know, we went to my aunt's earlier this month, or I don't even know when it was, and it was pretty small. It was with my family and then a couple of her friends, but she was, you know, later 70s, maybe even 80s. So those start to shrink. Or like when my dad died, you went. Like that was one of 3 fucking funerals for whatever reason.
Oh, good Lord. I did not realize that.
Yeah, so that was like the public one.
Yeah.
Then we did a private one, Catholic only, family only. Then we did one in Cleveland, because a lot of people couldn't come out from Cleveland.
Yeah.
But that we filled a basketball stadium.
Right.
And obviously I do think my dad was amazing on every level, but like that impact doesn't mean anything. Is it quantity versus quality? If you die and no one's at your funeral, but you truly loved and helped like one person, right? It's not a scoreboard. Yeah, that's just as good, right? If you just truly helped your son, or truly helped your spouse, or truly helped your whatever, one random person in your community, that's just as valuable. Kind of in, you know, my beginning statement of leave somewhere better than you came. That doesn't mean you have to be a YouTuber with 8 million followers. Right. You can make an impact on one singular person. And it'd be just as impactful, because then hopefully that person maybe impacts 2 people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, funerals are weird, man.
Funerals are weird. I was on somebody else's podcast yesterday for the longest period of time that I've been on a podcast in a long time. Like, we don't do long episodes anymore for a variety of reasons. But the question came up because, you know, it was largely focused on the past of, you know, the last 15 years or so. And the question was, would you do it all over again the same way? And I think I quoted you in saying, like, number one, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in now had we not done that. And but more relevant to this question is the people who tell us that they benefited from things that we did before, things we do now, whatever. They wouldn't have had that had I not done it.
Yeah, all that's like so corny, but it's so true. Like, you can't really change what you've done if you've taken it as a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, like, it is so corny, and everyone's preaching it on TikTok, like, all I have is lessons, I don't have failures. But like, if you do kind of look at it that way, and if you're self-aware enough to learn from what you've done or the interactions, or then you can't really want to change shit.
Yeah.
You know, because then like I wouldn't have the knowledge I have now of business and lifting and who to deal with and the network we have and the community we have and we've built. It is just complicated. But yeah, why would you change shit, you know? Yeah. Unless you, in hindsight, you can see like, oh, I was a piece of shit. I can understand that.
Or you made a horrendous decision that affected other people in a disproportionate way.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have any of those.
Yeah, butterfly affected a little negative.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really what it comes down to. And
yeah, I mean, shit, I would love to sell out and be riding a Rari and steroid out of my brains, but yeah, I probably wouldn't go back and do that either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it really comes down to how good can you feel about yourself based on what you've done so far. That's kind of the whole.
There's like a
legacy thing.
We're not even talking here because we did an episode on like parenting and shit. Not that I'm a parent or any plans of it right now, but I do like read into psychology type stuff, and there's something they talk about like I don't even know where I heard it. It might have been you, it might have been Reddit, it might have been who, whatever. But they talk about kids, and rather than saying like I'm so proud of you, Timmy, for playing a basketball game, like Timmy, are you proud of you?
Yeah.
You know, and like teaching kids to have that like inner voice rather than the world, because then you turn into a fucking TikToker that'll do anything to get people's approval.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying like, no, I'm pretty cool with like, oh, I think I did fine today. And obviously that could probably go south too, to participation award if you go too drastic the other way, right? Like, yeah, I'm proud I got out of my bed. Like, no, we need a little bit more standards than that. But because I've seen people that are, you know, raised multiple ways, and some people are like that. Like, oh yeah, like yeah, man, you made your bed. No one gives a fuck. Like, go do something. But
in the same way that I don't care if anybody's up at 4:30 in the morning. I don't give a single shit about that.
Yeah, that's already turning on its head too. The whole world is just so predictable how things go back and forth. Because that was like the biggest thing over the last 6 years, and then now there's a bunch of billionaires on TikTok saying like, I wake up at 8. you know, like I've never taken a cold plunge in my life. Yeah, it's so silly. Everyone's just silly. I don't know the answer. Yeah, I would love to be remembered, but I mean, who's really fucking remembered? And then, like, are they remembered the right way? You know, you got the fucking, what are you going to put a statue of me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit.
I mean, I think that there's here's a good example of someone who died recently. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. Like, some people just remember him as the guy who was jerking off in a porn theater. Yeah. Although I will say, like, what else are you going to do in a porn theater? Like,
porn theaters are just weird.
Yeah. That's.
Or just the creepy show. Like, he was just creepy.
Yeah, this show, he was...
It's like trippy.
Yeah, it was
weird.
Trippy, man-childy.
Yeah, isn't it like the lazy boy couch talking to you and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But then, like, what is the ultimate answer? Because in Western culture, it's like a museum or like a statue or something, but that's never because of, like, who they are. It's always what they did. And I would rather be remembered for like who I am, right? Like Michael Jordan, love him, but like he doesn't have a statue in front of Chicago because he was the kindest person in the world.
No.
Napoleon, fucking George Washington, like all these people. It's not because like wow they're so kind and so good to everyone.
Right.
It's because they like won this war, won that championship. I can't think of a single museum. Same thing. Like maybe there's a couple, right, where you dig into like Muhammad Ali in history rather than Muhammad Ali in sports. But that's one in a quadrillion, and then no one remembers him like that.
Right.
Most people talk about Muhammad Ali knocking fuckers out.
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely. That is actually that's a really good point. And it comes down to like the first line of your obituary.
Yeah.
You know, most first lines of obituary don't say this was a good guy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's like NBA All-Star father.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like fine too, but all of it is just weird, and whether we have an afterlife or not. I guess afterlife, that's where it like taps into religion.
Yeah.
Right? Because like none of this matters if you believe in that, and then all that matters is if I'm at them gates or if I'm in some lava. That's all that's really going to determine what happened here.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That's all I got on this one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, goodcompany.discord.com. Join us there. A very secret thing's coming out tomorrow, so I suggest if you're listening to this today, Friday, to join it. Discord. I'm still on the mic where you want to find me. New episodes Wednesday, Friday.
I'm at the Jim McDonald on all those social media. This show is 50% facts, where percent is a word, and 50 is just numbers. 50% facts is a Spreaker Prime podcast in association with iHeartMedia on the Obscure Celebrity Network. And we'll talk to you next time. Yeah, the guy that I was talking to yesterday, like I blew him off years ago.